We will now delve into KRA data, pre-populated returns, and enforcement. Steve, you have said before that the future of tax disputes will start with data mismatches. Explain.
For a long time, tax disputes have arisen out of an audit or a compliance check which is conducted by KRA. But slowly, over the past few years, the trend has been changing. And now that trend is to be placed within legislation. And that trend is that tax disputes will now be triggered by data mismatch. When the data, which is within KRA information highway, is not consistent, if there are variances of significant nature, the inconsistencies, these are going to attract an inspection, are going to attract an audit, are going to attract an assessment. And what does this mean? And what do I mean by data mismatch? So, KRA is now looking at different sources of information relating to the compliance status or the compliance obligations of a given company. Customs data, which is coming or through the ICMS system, is being considered. This is export-import data. So if the system indicates that you've exported some goods, but these sales do not appear in your returns, they do not appear in your sales for income tax purposes, then this is an inconsistency that is going to attract an inspection and probably an assessment. If other people are withholding tax and remitting to KRA against your PIN, and you are not declaring those particular incomes, this is also coming into question. People are indicating that they are supplying you with the goods, generating eTIMS invoices, and all this information populating into the system. Now, that and other sources of information are going to be the basis of KRA saying your details are inconsistent, and for that reason, please respond, or we are going to raise an assessment. So far, they have not had this power to raise assessment just based on this. But the proposals that are coming through, then they will have this particular hammer to raise these assessments. Now, we already know a number of mechanisms that KRA had placed into their programs to conduct enforcement activities based on this particular approach. The special tables system, where if a particular company is filing nil returns for VAT, or is consistently in a refundable position, or consistently in a VAT credit or situation, or if an entity has significant amount of credits, or if it is flagged for doing business with another flagged entity, can be placed on the special table where your trading for VAT purposes is suspended. Special table is not dead. It's being scaled down and it's being organized, but it's not yet dead. So special table was one of the mechanisms placed by KRA to conduct this. But the special table has been challenged in court, and it has been sitting on a legal gray area. And now they want it in the black and white. We have the issue of missing traders. This particular person has a lot of is generating eTIMS invoices, but we don't think that their transactions are genuine. They may be fictitious. So everybody that they supply, or everybody who does business with them, they are then flagged. This is what is called the issue of missing trader system. They have a data or system which is constantly reviewing information and sending letters to entities. These letters or emails saying, you are doing business with this person, you purchased these goods or services from this person, we don't think they are genuine, please explain them. If you don't explain them, we are going to raise an assessment. So we've been seeing administrative strategies and mechanisms that are being implemented by KRA in this regard. But now they want to formalize this in law, such that the actions that they take, they will be taking them on the strength of the black and the white letter of the law.
Thank you, Steve. And what are your thoughts, John?
I agree. I totally agree with you, Steve. And finance teams must stop treating iTax as a filing portal. Instead, they should actually use it as part of their control environment, in the sense that all the iTax information, customs data, all those numbers should be reconciled with the general ledger numbers, because any discrepancy will raise an issue, and the issue is a dispute in cooking. And to mitigate this, they should always ensure that these numbers are properly documented. Where there are discrepancies, I would advise that proper documentation be done, because proper documentation will actually be a cure just in case issues are raised. In summary, all I mean is that managing proper monthly reconciliations is totally cheaper than defending a KRA assessment later.
Thanks, John. From what you've said, this would affect the systems that companies have. Maybe, Paul, you can tell us more about that.
Yeah, so what John was talking about is more or less a data architecture problem, right? So we're seeing KRA are moving towards a fully digital and a fully data-driven type of environment. And going forward, if you think about it, if your systems are not integrated, as Steve has also mentioned, if your inventory system, your accounting system are not integrated in the sense that the data that is sitting in those two systems also does not match the mismatch with the KRA pre-populated data, as well as the third-party sources that KRA is now collecting from, it will automatically trigger an audit. Now, worse, the people who are in even a worse off position are those who are still using spreadsheets, or basically manual systems, or let's just call it Excel. So how then do they justify Excel, which is manipulatable, to what KRA already know about them? So they will actually be in hot soup with KRA, and when they trigger an audit, it will be the first thing that they look at. And it will cost them more for this data mismatch than it would for professional fees, or even just going into data integration and system integration.
And what are your thoughts, Sajan?
Yeah, so let's look at it in this perspective. Businesses will now need to ensure that they do have the right evidence back. What that means is if KRA does come and ask questions on input VAT or your withholding and your sort of input and sales data, it is going to be cheaper to have a fully defensible evidence back with you that you can utilize. So what you're saying is the filing itself is not going to be important anymore for accountants. They're going to require the need to ensure that they have a defensible retention strategy with them to mitigate these impacts on disputes.